morning and welcome to everyone in attendance today. I certainly want to thank in the beginning all of those who have agreed to testify. There were many more people who sought testimony that we were not able to accommodate, but we've asked them to give us written submissions so that the members and the staff can review their comments and their concerns along with those who are testifying in the hearing. I want to thank the members of the committee on both sides of the aisle for their attendance. Today is a bit of an unusual day. We have a number of members who also serve on the Armed Services Committee, where a very important hearing will begin later this morning, and we have a very extensive witness list. I would encourage that this be a listening session, but I want to also make it very clear for members who have a specific concern, or if there's an ambiguity or a point of clarification that you seek to have made, I would encourage you to go ahead and pursue that effort. But we would like to make sure that we were able to get through all of the witnesses on a timely fashion. So it's a little bit different, but in no way seek to diminish the rights members have under the 5-minute rule to question any members of the panel that is before us. Let me begin by just saying that all parents, no matter where they live, how much they earn, or what color their skin, want their children to go to a good school, to do well academically, and to go and have the opportunity to go on to college or to a good and rewarding job. And as a nation concerned with our leadership in the world, the strength of our economy, the vitality of our democracy, we must ensure that every child receives the best possible education. We have known for decades that too many children, particularly poor and minority children, are being deprived of the opportunity of a decent education that could help them lead more successful and gratifying lives. 6 years ago, we finally came together on a bipartisan basis to do something about that. We asked the states to set higher standards for the schools and students. We did this because we believed that every child could succeed if given access to a highly qualified teacher with a sound curriculum in a decent school. We also made performance at our schools transparent and began to hold schools accountable for their performance. These were historic and positive changes. However, we didn't get it all right when we enacted No Child Left Behind. I know it's rare, and I realize to hear such an admission in Washington, but it is the truth. We simply didn't get it all right the first time around. In increasing numbers and with increasing urgency, the American people are telling us that No Child Left Behind is not fair, not flexible, and not adequately funded. We will not waver when it comes to accountability, to setting high goals and standards of the current law. That's not negotiable. But we would be negligent, whether because of hubris or some short-sighted reasons, to refuse to make significant improvements to the law that are necessary for it to succeed as we intended in 2001 and 2002. America's education law must insist on accountability with high expectations, high standards, and high-quality assessments. It must be a law that closes the achievement gap and helps all children learn. That same law must treat children in school fairly, to provide educators with flexibility and resources they need to succeed. Fortunately, we are not faced with a choice between more accountability or less accountability. Rather, we face the obligation and the opportunity to finish what we started, to ensure that our system of educational accountability is smarter and more effective. In late August and early September, Mr. McKeon, Mr. Kildee, Mr. Castle, and myself released a bipartisan discussion draft for the reauthorization legislation. It has inspired a vigorous and welcome discussion about how we can improve the law. There have been over 60,000 downloads of that discussion draft to date. We took the unprecedented step of releasing a bipartisan discussion draft to ensure that the public would have ample opportunity to consider the comments on any direction that my colleagues and I believe we must take before we formally introduce a bill. This reauthorization process has been one of the most open, transparent, and bipartisan processes that I have had the privilege to participate in. The bipartisan discussion draft reflects years' worth of discussion with parents, teachers, and administrators. It reflects the input of members of Congress from both parties across all ideological lines. It reflects testimony delivered in nearly two dozen congressional hearings that were originally started under the chairmanship of Mr. McKeon when we started the bipartisan process last year before the elections. and it reflects the recommendation of more than 100 education, civil rights, and business organizations. A good process, however, is not the result is the result of more than just logistics. More than anything, the changes we are recommending are motivated by the aspirations and the expectations of parents for their children. We must do better, and we can do better. And here's how we can do it. For starters, we must have a clearer, richer, and more informed understanding of what's happening inside of our schools. That's why our discussion graph creates a smarter system of accountability that judges schools on more than just a single test on a single day. Emphasis will continue on reading and math. In fact, at the elementary level under the discussion graph, 85% of the accountability will come from reading and math scores as they do today. But we would also allow the use of additional valid and reliable measures to assess student learning and school performance more fairly, comprehensively, and accurately. We want to make sure that schools get credit for the progress that they make with students over time. That's why we create a smarter system of accountability that includes a growth model for crediting schools for gains in student achievement. Even better, those growth models will give us information that will be timely and helpful to teachers and principals in implementing reform. To be successful, our system of accountability must encourage states to set high standards. Lowering the bar so more children can reach it is a sham. Across the country, employers are telling us that too many high school graduates are not ready for the workplace, while colleges are telling us that too many high school graduates are not ready for the college classroom. Our bipartisan discussion draft asks business and higher education leaders to come together and work with educators to develop a more rigorous state standards so that high school graduates will be ready for the next stage of their lives, whether they choose the workplace, a career, or college. We must have a smarter system of accountability that distinguishes among different schools and the challenges facing them, as well as their needs for addressing those challenges. Schools with specific problems in specific areas should be allowed to use instructional interventions most appropriate to their needs. Schools facing greater challenges must receive more intensive support. Only in this way can we truly target our resources appropriately. We will never achieve the goals of No Child Left Behind unless we change the way we treat teachers and principals. As a nation, we are not offering teachers the respect and the support they deserve. As a result, we are facing a teacher shortage crisis. It's long past time that we treated teachers like valued partners in the education system. The bipartisan discussion draft provides incentives that will bring top talent into the classroom that need it the most. These include teacher career ladders, improved working conditions, mentoring for new teachers, performance pay for principals and teachers based upon fair and proven models developed in collaboration with principals and teachers. As we seek to make improvements to the law, we also need to ensure that states have adequate resources to make the law a success. We need greater and sustained investment in American education. In the new Congress, the Democratic leadership has begun this new era of investment, and I would hope rather than fight against it, the President will join us in securing the new appropriated levels for Title I and for elementary secondary education, and No Child Left Behind. A great American education system for our children and our country cannot be built on the cheap. We will continue to insist upon high standards and high expectations for all children, poor children, minority children, children with disabilities, and English language learners. There is no question about that, but it is equally clear that in order to accomplish our shared and critical goal of meeting the expectations and aspirations of America's parents and students, we must make improvements to the current law. I'm excited to hear from our panels today as we continue this open process we began last year. We will hear from 44 experts from education, civil rights, business, philanthropic, and research communities. I expect that we will have a lively and informative discussion, and I want to thank all of the witnesses again for their time and for their expertise.